Hello, Sonder family. It is really good to see you this evening. We are wrapping up March momentum. Instead of March Madness, it's March Momentum in the Silk and Sonder family. My name is Jennifer Ogilvy. I get to be your facilitator this evening as we take a look at our SMART goal page in our journal, as well as that gratitude jar. And you may have already worked on one or both of these, but what we'll be doing tonight can kind of travel through other journals. You can always draw your own jar from month to month and use that if you want in your journals. So the content that we're going to be going over tonight is just great, kind of evergreen stuff we use. We talk about SMART goals and those setups all the time. So we're going to take a little bit of time to kind of dig into that. So joining me on the call is the fabulous Bailey Grady, and she and I were really excited. We haven't gotten to work together in a while. And something that's she's hopping on to wave to you. Not sure if y'all can see her or not, but she's wearing her big smile as usual. And yes, she is your Tennessee sister, Jessica. A little fun fact is that today is actually the facilitator group's third anniversary. 3 years ago, we all gathered virtually and began our training process. And so we celebrate that group of facilitators. And we started off with Sonder circles. They were just very small, intimate groups, and it has grown to this wonderful opportunity for community. And both of us are so happy that we get to hang with you guys. We think Silk and Sonder people are the best, but I just love that we have an event together on this anniversary, this milestone for facilitators. Set that chat to everyone. If you see your name to host and panelist, it means that only Bailey and I will see what you're sharing. And we want to make sure that we, share with one another. I get so inspired by what is shared in the chat. It has helped me set my journal up, helped me dig into those journal prompts. So we want to make sure that chat is set to everyone so that we can encourage one another along the way. And we are kind of dialing in coast to coast. Some folks are getting ready for bed and some folks have just finished their dinner, or maybe dinner's cooking, but we're just glad to be here for this 1 hour together. There are those community guidelines that we always share at the front end of our times together. These guidelines are applicable when you're in Sonder Club on the app or whenever we're gathered together. And we just like to put those up there to remind you this is a safe space for one another. We hold each other accountable, and we're accountability buddies to make sure that we get these these journal pages worked out and done. But we also have, I'm seeing so many names that we're a community, and you come to enough of these and you start realizing that our world is awfully small because of events like this. So when we're together, we do observe these community guidelines, and the most important part of our guidelines is to always remember that if we're working on something that doesn't feel comfortable in your journal and you're not in that headspace to do so, it's okay. Always give yourself permission to maybe just sit, listen, and work on things when you're ready. So if you're tired today, it might not be the best time to set a SMART goal, but just sit and listen and maybe communicate through the chat and be inspired when your head is a little rested, right? We take what we need when we're together. So like I mentioned, March momentum, we're wrapping things up this month. It's been International Women's History Month, and love that momentum was that theme. Also love how momentum has we're finishing out this quarter of some very introspective themes, our first three themes of the year. And so we are finishing strong, and then we're going to be ready to jump in and play in the month of April. So tonight, our agenda, we have an opening activity. And then we're going to do the SMART goal first. I know it says gratitude jar, but I thought it made more sense to work on our SMART goal because I have a tie-in activity with the gratitude jar. So we'll put the gratitude jar at the end, and then we'll close our time together. So for our opening activity, Bailey is going to share a link with you. This link was actually emailed out to you on March the 2nd. All righty. And Susan is asking about the page. We're not working on a page right now, so no worries. We're in our March journals or in a notes page, your life workbook, your thoughts journal. But tonight we're going to do this opening activity of creating a playlist. Now, I was talking about that playlist that was a link that was mailed out March 2nd in honor of International Women's History Month. And it was a challenge to create an empowerment playlist. So you may have opened that up and you may have created your own empowerment playlist. If you didn't, now's your chance. You can grab that link and go print one out. But don't worry if you are not near a printer or you don't have a printer. I have taken the content from that page and I've broken it out. So you're invited to create a playlist of your favorite songs that kind of give you that moving forward feeling, that momentum. If you'd like to post that in Sonder Club, that's always inspirational for others. Or maybe there's a podcast you listen to. Or you can embrace the empowerment playlist that was emailed on March 2nd, or maybe you printed it out and you just didn't get to it. And we can break down because very much I found that the momentum songs and empowerment songs really kind of jive the same for me. It would be the same list. So I have actually broken down these questions into slides so that you can see it. And then I'll put on some background noise while we kind of dig into those inspirational songs. And I've got you started here with some of the things that came to my mind right off the bat. But here are the 3 questions on that empowerment page if you want to dig a little bit deeper with this playlist. So on this empowerment playlist page, it would ask you to think about your personal top hits playlist, right, around empowerment or momentum. And think about those songs that you gravitate towards. And what is like your go-to? Like when you need some oomph and some inspiration, what are those songs? And just list them. Kind of just do a little brain dump here. And then the next thing it's asking, is there a particular artist that you're drawn to? And maybe the lyrics or some sound qualities that resonate with you. And I love Lizzo, I love Taylor Swift, I love Katy Perry. The Chicks. I just love those songs. So those are like the artists that really speak to me. And then the third question is, what feelings do you want to ignite to empower yourself through the month, through music, through, what are you intentionally cultivating? So just kind of a little bit deeper look at the songs that go on your playlist. If you choose, you don't have to do that. I'll put on this background. I've got like some white noise ocean rain music because I can't think of a song if another song is playing. And I don't know if you're like that too. So I thought I'll just do some kind of background noise. Start dropping stuff in the chat. I'll go back and forth between these slides if you want to grab a screenshot or work on those prompts to really dig into it. And let's just share that fabulous music that motivates us. And I'll be back to check in with you in just a minute. Okay, my hand my hand is aching from making this list. You guys have some awesome songs. It's awesome. Please, show us in Sonder Club so we can add to our playlist. Play is the next month's theme. And I think all of these songs work with that too, right? They're motivating, they push us forward. I love having those go-to playlists. Bailey said she's going to share hers. I have too many to to share in Slaughter Club. I can share what I just did, but I do mine month by month. But I do know lots of times, like when I shower, I'll put on a coloring playlist because that's a ton of instrumental, and it is so nice to set the mood that way. So having those go-to playlists can really help push us when we need that push. Thank you all for sharing. Yeah. Oh, and Christina just said the Greatest Showman soundtrack. That is such a good one. You guys have some awesome stuff. I remember when I used to clean house, I used to put on the Glenn Miller band because there was that real da 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 da, and man, I would just be vacuuming. It really helps motivate and push me forward with momentum. So keep working on that. I'm glad that you shared, and there's so much value in having your very own playlist to go to. So we're going to start with our SMART goal page. And that's on page 16. And we sure talk a lot about SMART goals. We set goals every week. And so usually at a weekly setup, every now and then you're going to hear one of us talk about using a SMART goal or what that looks like. So we're going to just slow it down and do a little bit deeper dig into just what a SMART goal is. Hopefully it will help with some clarity. I know that I kind of sometimes struggle with getting the goal just right if I'm framing it through SMART goal. And so breaking each step down is just a little helpful in creating a goal that is truly something that I think will happen because there's been a little more thought to it. We tend to jump in with a simple goal, and a SMART goal takes everything from that simple goal to another level. So, love this quote: a dream written down with a date becomes a goal. A goal broken down into steps becomes a plan. And then a plan backed by action becomes reality. And I think that's what we get when we set goals through this lens of a SMART goal. Goal setting is not an event, it is an ongoing process of action, evaluation, and revision. And I just wanted to include those words there because I think sometimes when we are in the midst of striving, working through a goal, and we see where we falter, right? We get very hard on ourselves and we didn't do it, and well, I might as well just stop now because, I've fallen off the wagon or whatever. Um we need to remind ourselves that doing this whole goal process requires evaluation and it requires revision, and it's not a failure. If something doesn't happen, and I say this often at our setups, weekly setups, is blank, something doesn't happen, that is part of your story and your journey as well. So let's dig into our SMART goals. If you'll turn to page 16, the first letter is S for specific. And basically that is describe your goal. And we'll go through each one of these letters, and then I'm going to give you some time to work on this page slowly and with intention. The things we're going to want to ask ourselves is, what do I want to accomplish? Will achieving this goal have an important impact? Is it worth my time? Is it valuable to my life? And what actions do I need to take? Now, I had mentioned I tend to set simple goals, very broad goals. I want to get healthy. So how do I break that down to where it becomes a SMART goal? Because that's a very broad statement. And the SMART goal helps us put stuff behind those simple goals, right? So I want you to imagine saying, I want some breakfast, right? And there is a picture of deliciousness, all the breakfast items that you could want, right? Okay, so now what if we say, I want eggs? Now we've taken this generalized breakfast and we put it into, okay, I want eggs. And then if we take it a next step further, well, I'd like an omelet. That took that idea of breakfast down to something very specific. So that's kind of a visual that helped me think about my goals and frame that out. Like you start with this big idea, but then you get to the smaller points. So that is the S, that is being specific. All righty. I hope that helps. Um, then your SMART goals, the M is for measurable. So we've got to be able to track that progress somehow. And again, it when you're measuring it, it should accurately reflect the successes that you've had. So your goal needs to be quantifiable. So you assign a number or a value to it, and then the progress easy to track. And think about your journal. How can you use your journal for those goals, right? We have those habits and activity trackers. Using a tracker in association with a goal you're wanting to attain is a way of measuring, right? If we're doing that, I want to do XYZ every single day. Using a tracker is a way to measure. Also, thinking about deadlines. So, your goal, maybe at the end of the month, I want to fill that in, or using things like percentages. Maybe I want my goal is to reduce my budget by 10%. Or at work, I want to increase my sales by 2%. So you assign that measurable type of thing. I want to increase my steps every day by 20%. Maybe it's goals tied to dollar amounts. I want to pay off X amount of debt, or I want to save X amount of dollars. Putting again those numbers to tying into your goals. That makes it measurable. Right now, one of my goals, I have shared it weekly setups. I'm really trying to pay attention to protein. My doctor has been, you need more protein. You're old, you need more protein. And so, like, my goal is 100 grams of protein every day. That's part of my goal with that eating. And so I'm looking for that number, that 100. The next thing is your goal achievable? And the word actionable can also be, swapped in there. Achievable or actionable. What is your plan? How are you going to set yourself up for success? It's kind of like this is where the rubber meets the road. And so you need to think, is my goal truly attainable? Right? Like, if I wanted to, like, I can't run a marathon. It'd be silly for me to say, I'm gonna run a marathon, and then because I can't do it. I don't have the knees any longer to do that. So, I have to set a goal that is truly attainable in my life. Your goal needs to be realistic, and, you need to make sure that it truly is achievable and not unrealistic, if that makes sense. So consider the availability of the things that you have in your life, your resources, the knowledge you have, and the time that's available. So maybe, you want to do a daily exercise goal, and you're going to set that goal. It doesn't make sense to say, "I'm going to exercise for an hour," if you're looking at your day that starts at 6 o'clock and waking up kids and going to work and picking kids up and going home and doing dinner, and the best you might be able to do right now with this goal is, "Okay, every day I'm gonna walk at lunch for 15 minutes." That is attainable. That is what will work in your life when you look at the time you have. Or perhaps, you have a goal to travel to Europe and you look at your resources and the checkbook doesn't quite support the goal of Europe. And so you might have to make some adjustments because your resources are not going to support that. So do you make a goal to maybe travel within the US this time around. So or do you create a goal where you're going to maybe do some cutting back so you can dump more resources into this big trip that you'd like to take? So we really want to make sure that this achievable, this actionable, this attainable really does speak to our life. Alrighty. Now, our next letter is relevant, and this looks a lot like that Eisenhower matrix that we share a lot at weekly setups. And it is the value versus effort matrix to help you if you have several goals, because most of us do, we have several things going on in our life. This can help you figure out where is the value versus the effort. Where is my winning spot? If I or am I trying to figure out how to make this relevant? So your goal, oops, I went ahead. Your goal in to be relevant, it's kind of this big picture time. You need to make sure that the goal you're setting contributes to like the long term you. It benefits you in the best way it can. What do you want in life? It's like this kind of those intentions that we set, these overriding ideas. Don't just do something for the sake of doing it. Make sure it's aligning with your values, that it is relevant. Now, your effort is going to be like how much time, resources, and energy a goal will require. And the impact is how much value that goal will create in your life. So if you're on a health journey like me, like getting that protein is important. It creates value in my life because I've got to start taking really good care of these aging muscles to support the aging bones, right? So it all makes sense. It's all very much an effort driven uh, goal for me. And so the quadrants are there. You have your quick wins, which are things that are high impact and low effort. You have major projects, which are high impact and high effort. I feel like that's what my little health journey is right now because I really love to just snack and not not pay attention. You kind of have the fill-ins, the things that don't require much effort and it's low impact. It's not taking much from, your resources that you have. And then you kind of have those things that are just time sinks or thankless tasks, which is a lot of effort, but very low impact in you reaching those goals. And when you're working on these, I'll go back and forth between all these slides. If you want to grab a screenshot, feel free to do that if you really want to kind of dig into looking at any of this information. Finally, we're to T, that timely or time bound in our word smart. And this is really setting that hard deadline, doing a specific date. That's so critical, like opening up your journal and penciling something in, putting something in your phone. By this day, I will have whatever, and you tie it, you make it time bound. You tie it to a time. Your goal should have a definitive start date and a definitive end date. Now, you may say, well, I'm saving for something that's 3 years from now. You might want to set smaller goals, right? To move smaller, smart goals to move toward that end goal in 3 years. So that way, you're getting some payoff by checking in with yourself regularly. And if it is really a big goal with a lot of work in it, set dates to check in. I will complete this in 6 months, comma, checking in on the 30th of every month to look at my progress. All righty. So that's kind of like, yes, Brenda's saying have multiple smaller goals. So I'm gonna leave you with your page and some music, and I will scroll back and forth between these slides. I know many of you are in the corporate world and you do heavy duty SMART goal work. with your teams, with training, with workshops. So if you have anything else to drop in the chat, please share your wisdom. We love this community for all that we can bring to one another. And I'm going to just again leave you with some time to consider a goal that you would like to have, and then break it down through the lens of the SMART. Kind of let us know where you are. If you're feeling stuck, drop that in the chat because I know that Sonder family can maybe help you frame something out if you're not sure how to do that. I'll be back to check in a little bit. Let's go get those goals done. I really, really, really love the support that I see in the chat. We have lots of folks who work with SMART goals on a daily basis in their careers, and they've dropped some great ideas here. Some suggestions made. If you feel overwhelmed, start with something small, a small goal, and work it through the SMART goal lens just to kind of learn how to use this idea of setting and achieve working toward and achieving goals, right? Kind of give yourself a win that will help you kind of put it on and try it on for size and see how it feels. And know that you can always drop something in Sonder Club too. If you're sitting, I'll see somebody say, "I need a little advice, Sonder Club," and they'll drop that in there. And so if you're sitting there and feeling a little stuck, um, that might be a way. And another suggestion was, maybe kind of start with something that might be bouncing around in your head and put it through an AI generator, and ask it to create help you create a SMART goal for paying off $1,000, and see what hits in one of those generators because, it might have something or it might have something that is like the perfect plan, but it also could have something like, "I don't agree with that one, but this has got me thinking about XYZ." So you guys dropped some great ideas in the chat. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us for doing that. And yeah, Amy's saying, she's working on a 75-day plan. There's that time bound timeliness there to make these small improvements. And just little bit by bit. Use your journal, use those trackers, set those intentions every month. Make sure that there's alignment with the tool that we use in Silk and Solder, either that habit tracker wheel or your weekly, or even go in and schedule, your periodic check-ins in your calendar, on your phone calendar. Make sure that you're getting those reminders to help with that motivation. So thank you for spending a few minutes working on this. This is a great framework for setting up any goal you have, and it just again, you kinda have to do it a little bit to really, get comfortable in it. I was always, again, a very simple goal with no plan. That was me, and so it really helps me put it on paper and kind of do that funnel from breakfast to eggs to omelet, right? It helps me really focus on make the main thing the main thing. So great work. Now we're going to flip to page 13, which is your gratitude jar. And these jars show up very frequently in our journals. I love a good jar because you can do so many things with them. And there's a lot of ways to set this up. Now, you may have already been using this month. So hopefully, some of the things I'll share tonight, you can maybe transfer to a notes page on in April's journal, if you want to take this forward. I have been saving this little graphic that I found a long time ago, about the little guy holding his happiness jar or his gratitude jar. It says, "Where did you find that?" I've been searching for it everywhere. And he says, "I created it myself." And so you get to create your gratitude. There's a lot of power in that. We don't rely on anybody else for our happiness, for our gratitude, for finding the things that are meaningful in our lives, right? So here are some great examples of gratitude jars from fellow Silk and Sonder members. And you can see just, a lot of beautiful things have just been written in there. You can do it on a day by day, tracking thoughts each day. How are you grateful? You can use stickers and words to kind of fill your jar up. And then a lot of times folks will draw different shapes within the jar and then like these circles in the middle, and then they'll write something, either maybe an affirmation, maybe a reflection on the day. Now I've got some other great ideas for you to use in a gratitude jar or to use on a gratitude page. It doesn't necessarily have to be a jar. Oh, thank you, Leanne. She said, "That's hers with all the writing." Thank you for sharing, and Rhonda too. Love you guys for dropping those in Sonder clips. See, I grab them and save them. We love we love it. So this gratitude jar that I'm going to introduce to you is actually an extension of your SMART goal. We're going to frame this gratitude jar out by giving gratitude to future you. So you're going to create some type of spaces. This is going to be sort of that, tied to an amount like circles or squares, or if you're doing something for 30 days, you'll have 30 spaces that you draw. If you have something that you're going to do for 3 months, maybe you block your jar into sections with three, a section for each month. And then you're going to mark it off as it's accomplished. So if you have, maybe you're going to save money or you're going to pay off debt, all your little spaces might have dollar amounts in them: $5, $10, $20, $5, $3. Um, Maybe you have a work goal that you can put into this gratitude jar, a step challenge. I'm just throwing some ideas out. I don't know what all of your goals were, but we're going to fill this jar and track or mark off our milestones with our SMART goal if you choose to do so. Okay, now another idea for this gratitude jar. Maybe it becomes just a themed jar. So you think of someone special in your life, maybe your significant other, or one of your children, or all of your children, or your best friend, or your favorite coworker, and you just label this gratitude jar the Jim jar or the Sally jar, and you start just writing all those things about that theme that you are grateful for. Perhaps it's your job. Maybe it's a hobby jar and you have gratitude for the skills that you use in your hobby. You can think back, where did you get introduced to that? Where were those people who showed you, and find gratefulness through that? Perhaps your theme is about your home, or maybe you do a gratitude jar reflecting over a year, one of a really good year of your life, maybe a year that was filled with struggle, but then you got through it, and so you do this reflection on that theme, or a favorite season. It can really be whatever comes to mind, but just give this jar a name and show gratitude through that lens. You can also use this jar by filling it first and doing something like a list of all the things you're grateful for in your life. And then you reverse engineer and you check off an item every day as you do an intentional reflection on that thing. Maybe you fill this up with a self-care menu, a ton of items that, give that help you give gratitude for yourself. Can be fun things, like treat yourself to a movie or a coffee or time with a nice soak in the tub or a massage. But it can also be things like filling your vitamin, your weekly vitamin thing. What do you do to take care of yourself? And then you take what you need on that given day. Maybe you fill it up with a bunch of daily questions and prompts, and then you'll do a daily reflection on that. That can be also coupled with some of the things that you find in our app when you're doing the daily reflections. And maybe you just create a happy jar, a happy list, or a bingo board type thing of just simple things that give you immense gratitude. Things like sleeping in, or fresh sheets, or a visit to the library. And when you do those things, you mark them off to celebrate that gratitude. And then also, it can just be a tracker where you track a gratitude a day. Maybe you focus in on when someone does something kind for you, or you do something kind for someone else. Perhaps you fill this with your daily highlights or your daily gratitude, or little things. Maybe you just make a jar filled with little things, and every day you make it your intention to notice something small to be grateful for. Sometimes just having that pause and doing that is all we need. So I'm going to put on some music. Let us know how you are gonna frame out your gratitude jar, if you use it as a tracker, if you wanna do a theme. A glimmer jar, yes, Corey. Ah, excellent. So share in the chat, and I'll be back to check in with you in just a moment. You all have some great ways of framing out your jar. Remember, you can draw a jar and have a jar every single month. I do want to speak to Luann. She had a question and she says, "What is it meant by glimmers?" And the idea behind glimmers, Luann, is almost an idea exchange in your head. It's the opposite of a trigger, something that maybe takes us to a place of worry, of fear, of bad memories, and we consciously choose to see a glimmer instead. Find that goodness. Notice the goodness in the world around you and focus on that rather than the trigger. So it's the opposite. A trigger kind of ends up sending us to not a great place, but a glimmer helps push us forward, right? We look for the goodness. And we call that a glimmer when we have that opportunity to slow it down and take a look at that. And then that fills our brain with the good stuff that we need. So, I wanna thank you for joining us. We've got a lot that I'm gonna ask you to to share if you're comfortable in Sonder Club. How you're thinking about your SMART goal. Did you put your goal in a jar and you've got some tracking going on there, some time-bound, ideas in your jar. Would love to see your jars. And some of you may have been working on them for the month, and so they're almost filled if you're doing a day by day thing in this page. But you can also, just because March is ending doesn't mean the pages have to stop. You can keep using. I still have stuff in a bingo from a couple months ago that is still on my desk. Haven't put the journal away, still working on that bingo. So thank you for joining us. There are those QR codes so that you can refer someone that you love to Silk and Solder. They'll get $10. You'll get $10. That upgrade to an annual subscription QR code is there if you'd like to do that. Bailey's sharing all of this information in our chat, as you can see. And yeah, these hours go by so fast, Jonna. Um, and then our social survey, you'll get a follow up email to our time together too. We ask you to take just a moment to fill those out. Let the headquarters know what you love, what you want to see more of, even times that work for you, and let them know what time zone you're in since we kind of span several. But I do want to thank you for being intentional with your journal and allowing Bailey and I to kind of just hang out with you tonight as we tackled these 2 pages. We are getting ready to finish up our month, if you can believe it. It was a fat March. That momentum went, man. It was really fast. I wish you lots of joy, and I'm looking forward to digging into the idea of play with you next month. Y'all have a great, great end of the month. See you next time.
I spent my whole life trying to fit into a lane, but I'm so over it. I watch my friends fall out of love and go insane, bet on life and lose the game. I saw 'em quit. I never wanna be like that, a suit and tie copycat. I never was into that. Hey yo, na na na. I said hey yo, I'm all good. I'ma do my own thing. I'ma do me. I'ma do my own thing. Hey yo, na na na. I said hey yo, I'm all good. I'ma do my own thing. I'ma do me. I'ma do my own thing. I spent so long with my head buried in the sand. My future needs a rewrite, so I'll send a